Welcome to the Persecution Report. We will take a minute for our audience to join us. We named the episode today Muhammad Yunus, State Violence and the Persecution of Awami League Supporters in Bangladesh. A week ago, when we planned this episode, our plan was to discuss a report by Justice Maker Bangladesh in France, a human rights organization that is monitoring the persecution going on in Bangladesh under interim government led by Muhammad Yunus. The 70 extrajudicial killing happened in the past 1 year. However, in this week, we had two gruesome events took place in Bangladesh. On 24th of September, when the supporters of Bangladesh, Awami League, organized peaceful demonstration, over 500 of them were arrested and brutally attacked by mobs led by Bangladesh Nationalist Party, BNP, and National Citizens Party, NCP goons. Then just today, violent crackdown happened on the indigenous people in the hill tracts of Bangladesh in the Kagraturi district. A year 8 student was gang raped by the settlers. And when the indigenous people asked for justice, instead of justice, the Bangladesh military and other armed forces, including the settlers, the supporters of Jamaat-e-Islami and BNP, attacked the indigenous people by torching their homes, killing them. Rightly so. The name of the episode today, Muhammad Yunus and the state violence in Bangladesh today. Joining me today, Anwar Sadet Jihan, an aerospace engineer and columnist, Mr. Tapas Kanti Baul, a prominent lawyer from Bangladesh, and Raihan Jamil, PhD, a scholar. At first, I would like to ask Jihan to take us through the situation.
Thank you, Mr. Alam, for connecting me today, and a special thanks to Barrister Ball and Dr. Jamil for taking the time to join us today. Before I begin, through you and through our show, I would like to wish the Honorable Prime Minister of Bangladesh, Sheikh Hasina, a very, very happy birthday. May she be blessed. Bangladesh needs her. Bangladesh needs her because Bangladesh is going through some dark, dark time. A prominent British author and scholar, C.S. Lewis, once said, "Hatred has its pleasures. It is therefore often the compensation by which a frightened man reimburses himself for the miseries of fear. The more he fears, the more he hates." In today's Bangladesh, my dear listeners, this hateful man is none other than Yunus. Yunus is scared because he did not come to power through any democratic or lawful means. He happened to grab the state power by a very violent and bloody conspiracy. So he has been doing what any authoritarian or fascist would do, violently cracking down on opposition and silencing them by any means possible. From arbitrary arrest to violent mob attacks and custodial deaths, the systematic persecution of the Awami League supporters in Bangladesh has become the norm. And as it has become the norm, we have started to see that they have started to gain some momentum, the Awami League supporters in Bangladesh. In recent days, we have seen that they have started to stage protest and procession very peacefully. These are peaceful protests. However, being a scared man that Yunus is, he has been cracking down on them. Last week, in a matter of only 1 or 2 days, more than 500 Awami League supporters were arrested without any explanation, without any justification. And as we have seen in these photos, in most of the cases prior to those arrests, the Awami League supporters were brutally beaten by the BMP and NCP thugs and were handed over to the police. The use of violent mobs and the abuse of law enforcement to crack down on opposition have become the norm in Bangladesh. These are direct attacks to democracy. However, there is something that is more chilling, more concerning: the extrajudicial killing. Bangladesh, as a country, long struggled with this issue. Let's face it, accept it. However, the situation has never been this dire. Justice Makers Bangladesh of France has recently conducted a study and has reported 60 incidents that involved 70 victims, and most victims being the Awami League supporters. The perpetrators of these crimes involve Bangladesh Police, RAB, and even the security forces. And the methods that they have used for conducting this killing include gunshot, torture, and willful medical negligence. Let us go over some of the incidents to help garner some perspective here. Torture during remand in Bangladesh is not something new. There have always been scattered random allegations of torture during remand in Bangladesh. However, the extremity of those tortures has never been this severe, this brutal, that the torture itself resulted in the death of the victim. And not in 1 or 2 victims, but in a systematic pattern. For example, in the case of Muktijuddha Projanmo Kollan Porishad President Alimujjaman Chaudhuri, torture during remand has resulted in his death. He was brutally tortured while he was in remand, while he was in custody of the Bangladesh police. In another incident, another Awami League leader, a Union Joint General Secretary of Madhupur Khulna, Akhtar, he was also brutally killed during his remand under the police. And when it comes to the torture by the military, my friends, we all have heard horror stories. When it comes to torture by Bangladesh Army, the situation is even more concerning. For example, an expatriate from Dubai, a 30-year-old man, originally from Brahmanbaria, he was in military custody where he was brutally tortured by Bangladesh Army. And as a direct result of this torture, he was killed. He passed away.
Just a minute there. When you say Bangladesh military is right now functioning as a law enforcement agency. That's
right.
Yeah.
So military is having a role that is not their traditional role. They are openly roaming around in the city, and in cases they are torturing expatriate innocent people of the Bangladesh Awami League. And these are just the death during the remand. And then we all have seen what happened in Gopalganj during the NCP rally, when Bangladesh Army and Bangladesh Police brutally fired live lethal rounds at unarmed civilians. 5 unarmed civilians were killed in the process. No justification from the Yunus government, no inquiry, nothing. And these are just the death during their custodial remand and all that. And besides all this, there are deaths in prison. Even when they are incarcerated, being deprived of their liberty, they are not safe. In a matter of only 28 days, 4 Awami League leaders were killed in prison in Bogura. And the victims include a Union Parishad chairman named Mithu, and another local Awami League leader, Ratan. These are not sporadic incidents. These are part of a systematic pattern. In most of the cases, the reason was willful medical negligence, willful denial of medical treatment to the inmates. And this pattern is not only prevalent in Bogura itself, which is the strong powerhouse of BMP, it is prevalent all across the country. For example, in Sirajganj jail, as Sirajganj Municipality Environment and Forest Secretary, Akhtaruzzaman Angur, he died while going through treatment, allegedly due to not receiving the proper treatment. So, my friends, as you are seeing, the human rights condition in Bangladesh, particularly the very basic fundamental rights of the Awami League supporters, are in extreme jeopardy. Human rights organizations such as Article 19, PEN International, and even the Human Rights Watch all have expressed their repeated concern about the human rights violation under Yunus' watch. It is high time for everyone to stand up, raise voices, and demand accountability. Only through your action, this tragic situation can be reversed. Back to you, Mr. Alam.
Thank you so much, Jihan. I would like to go to Tapash Kantibal. Being a lawyer, what's your take on extrajudicial killings in Bangladesh happening under the current regime led by Muhammad Yunus? Also, I would ask you to give us enlightenment about what was happening in these cases, in such cases, during previous governments in Bangladesh as well. Also, what is the law in Bangladesh for extrajudicial killings? How do we hold the security forces accountable in Bangladesh? What's the mechanism?
In Bangladesh, first of all, let me say that what is extrajudicial killing, right? Extrajudicial killing is that when any government force arrests someone and or takes them into custody, or even without custody, if they kill someone without trying them before a court. Why this is extrajudicial? Because judiciary does not play any role in this kind of murder, right? So that is why this is extrajudicial. The victim does not have any opportunity to present his or her case before the judiciary. Now, once upon a time, there was no law in Bangladesh for extrajudicial killing. I remember that Bangladesh Legal Aid Services Trust, BLAST, filed a public interest litigation to address this lacuna. And later, Awami League government, under the leadership of Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, my leader, whose birthday is today, so that these became a law under Bangladesh, a law passed in parliament, that any death in police custody is punishable by death penalty. So this has become a clear-cut law in Bangladesh. So before Awami League, there was no law. There was only a judgment. And after Awami League, during the period of Awami League, this has taken place. Now, if you may recall that 7 murder in Naranganj, right? RAB and army officials are involved, and police were involved in that case. And even and we know that son-in-law of a powerful Awami League leader was involved. What happened? There was no mercy for them. They were tried before the court. Similarly, whenever there is any police custody, there is any killing in police custody, the Awami League government was in forefront to try those things. There was investigation. But what is happening right now? Right now, it has become a culture, like to kill people without any sort of judicial experimentation.
And how widespread they are? Like, is it like in some district of the country it is more prevalent than the others, or it is like all over across the country?
I would say that this is widespread. This has happened so far in every district on the record. I'm saying that. However, we can see that if there is, significant amount of support for Awami League in a district or a place. For example, let us consider Chittagong division, Chattogram division as a whole. So you will see that a lot of incidents took place in Chattogram division itself. Again, if you look into the Borishal, Gopalganj, Faridpur, Joshore belt, you will also find that similar kind of incidents are taking place. People are being killed, like in Gopalganj itself. People are not only killed by the police, by the RAB, or even army was involved in that. Even kids were injured, then they were dragged into the jail, in the prison. So it is everywhere. You cannot just name a single place, but if the predominantly, like for example, Sylhet, Chittagong, and then that belt of south in Bangladesh, these are considered to be the vote bank of Bangladesh Awami League. So these are the places where these incidents have taken place. Uh, I mean, very
I would like
interestingly,
to add, I would like to draw your attention to another district, which is the district of Bogura. As
right?
we know
That's what
that
I'm going to
the
say.
district of Bogura was a BNP stronghold, but in
Right,
the past 15 years, because of the development work done by Bangladesh Awami League,
right.
it has turned to the population turned to Awami League, and we have seen a significant number of Awami League leaders have been killed in Bogura jail. The number, if I could remember, it would be five in just one prison. So why it is Bogura as well?
That is because in last 15 years, the popularity of Awami League reached into the highest level. The local BNP and Jamaat leaders, they understood that if these leaders are not eliminated, they will not get their support back. In the next election, whoever gets the support of these Awami League leaders will be elected. It will not be Jamaat or BNP leaders. That is the main motto. There is no other intention behind it. These guys or these political leaders were targeted. They were meticulously killed by the order or by under the knowledge of the home advisor, because you are killing people in the prison and the knowledge is not there of the home advisor. It cannot happen.
Uh, do,
Definitely
you,
there is some
do
sort
you
of knowledge.
think do you think the overcrowded prison, as we know that tens of thousands of Awami League activists are right now in prison? Arbitrary arrest is like it's a defining characteristics of Yunus government, and many of them are ill. They have some kind of chronic diseases, and they're not receiving treatment. Is that a reason too? Is it?
Definitely,
Is
I
it?
mean, this is, I mean, recently the international lawyers community has regarded that denying medical treatment, denying food, or denying basic living condition can also amount to in crimes against humanity, because this is a systematic design to kill a particular person slowly, right? So not only if you are a Awami League leader or an activist, no. For example, Shahriar Kabir is in prison. For Chinmoy Krishna Prabhu is in prison. Barkat sir, Karjon sir, and our former Chief Justice is in prison. And there are a lot of people who are actually as old as 80 years or more. So if you deny, for example, if you deny even water to them, if you deny medical treatment, medicine to them, if you deny proper clothing to them, they might die. If you deny a bed to them, if you force them to sleep on the floor, for example, Shahriar Kabir was forced to sleep on the floor and he had pneumonia. He had to admit it in the hospital. And then it has been reported that he was rushed back to the prison because the law advisor said that why the Shahriar Kabir is getting this kind of treatment in the hospital. So he was rushed back.
On that note, Mr. Rahan Jamil, uh, would you please give us a little more idea about these victims and why Awami League are predominantly the largest, the majority of the victims. I mean, like it's the vast majority of the victims are Awami League leaders and Awami League supporters. The statistics show us 49% of all the extrajudicial killings are the Awami League leaders and supporters. Can you please explain why they are being targeted by Yunus?
Thank you for your question and welcome everybody who's watching, listening to this event live and maybe later on. I'd like to start just like Mr. Jihan did, wishing our Honorable Prime Minister a very happy birthday. Bangladesh needs her now more than ever. And she and her name has become very synonymous with Bangladesh. I hope she realizes that. We're all praying for her. Now, going back to the question, or going to the question that you asked out, who are the victims or why Awami League is so prominent among them? And this is something that all of you have actually already talked about. So I'm not going to dwell longer on it. For example, out of the 70 reported death cases in custody in the last 1 year, almost 50% are Awami League leaders. This is not by chance. Make no mistake, this was deliberate, right? The justice makers of France report showed that such prosecution focused on Awami League so that the government can dismantle Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's political base. That was the sole reason. So that brings us to the question that were other members of other groups not affected? Yes, they were, but their numbers were very, very small. It's disproportionate to what the Awami League people have gone through. So this was a persecution. This was a persecution of one party, Awami League, above all others. The state institutions were weaponized. Police, army, joint forces, all prison authorities were weaponized. Institutions were built to serve citizens, my colleagues. Those institutions became weapons against the very people they were created to serve. Instead of enforcing the law, these institutions enforced silence. It's very, very alarming. They have enforced silence. Let me give you one example. On May 18, right, in Dhaka, 3 Awami League activists were killed when police opened fire on the protesters. Their families have reported that these people were unarmed and were marching peacefully. So these deaths, examples like these, become a part of a wider pattern of suppressing Awami League's public presence. Families were silenced by intimidation. Families who sought justice were either harassed or threatened. We have seen reports after reports that mothers, fathers, family members stood outside police stations begging for accountability, but they were turned away. So these violence, my friends.
We also have seen that mothers and family members of Awami League activists and supporters were being killed just because one of their family members belonged to Awami League.
Yes, one
I will
student
interfere a little bit, saying that what happened in the first few days, whenever an Awami League leader was produced before the court, the mob attack and the lynching, the way they treated them is unimaginable in a country, in a democratic country. So that didn't happen to any other accused. If you are particularly if you are a follower of Awami League, only in your case you were mistreated, not only by the mob but also by the prosecutors who were appointed by this government, by the judges as well. There was no human rights. As I said, when accused persons like or leaders like our former law minister, when they were produced, Salman F. Rahman was produced before the court. They were not offered by the judges to sit, considering their old age and physical situation and psychological trauma. These things were not considered at all. So it is not only that they are targeted outside. I mean, even if they are in the before the court, they were targeted, they were harassed, and there was no human dignity for them.
Even the mother of a student league leader who was praying, she was killed by sharp weapon.
And
Just
Even
this
during
week,
praying.
and just this week, the BNP thugs came to look for a Union Awami League leader. They couldn't find him, so they killed his young son, 18 and 19-year-old son. They just killed him.
so many such
Not
cases.
counting.
So many such cases. Even at the very beginning of August last year, we saw how thugs of BNP, NCP came to look for Awami League activists, and they couldn't find. They killed their younger brother who was 7 years old. Mothers were killed, fathers. These do not even sound real, right? If an outsider listens to this story, the first reaction will you're making things up, but that is the ground reality in Bangladesh, right? So these
Let
kind of
me
violence.
let me remind our audience, I mean, after hearing all this, that what is persecution, right? Unfair or cruel treatment over a long period of time because of race, religion, or political beliefs. This is defined in Cambridge Dictionary. Forget about ICC statute or elsewhere. And if, I mean, probably we will discuss at later stage, but I want to mention it now that Yunus and none of the advisors can escape justice because they are committing persecution.
Yeah.
They are
And this is
leading the persecution.
Would you be able to give us some more specific example, Taposh?
Absolutely. The targeting of Awami League supporters under the Yunus-led interim government was not only widespread, it was brutal, deliberate, and well documented, which just my colleague presented. Let me begin with Gopalganj, the birthplace of Sheikh Hasina and a symbolic stronghold of the Awami League. During a peaceful movement organized by local party activists, security forces opened fire on demonstrators, killing several and injuring dozens. Kids were put to prison. These were not armed protesters, they were citizens exercising their democratic rights. The fact that this happened in Gopalganj, a district with deep historical ties to the party, sends a chilling message about the regime's intent. Then we have the case of 6 Awami League leaders who died in custody after torture during police remand. These individuals were arrested on vague charges, denied legal counsel, and subjected to repeated physical abuse. Autopsy reports where available showed signs of blunt force trauma, broken ribs, and internal bleeding. Their deaths were not accidents. They were the result of deliberate cruelty. In Bogura, 5 Awami League leaders died in prison under suspicious medical circumstances. Official statements claimed heart attacks and strokes, but families and independent observers noted that these individuals were healthy prior to arrest. Requests for independent medical reviews were denied. These deaths raise serious questions about the use of medical neglect as a tool of political repression, and it did not stop with the victims themselves. Families who demanded justice were intimidated, harassed, and in some cases forced into silence. In one case, a widow who spoke to the press was later detained for spreading false information. In another, children of a deceased leader were denied school admission due to their father's political affiliation. These examples are not isolated. They
If
fit
I
into
may
a
add,
wider
Mr.
campaign.
Ball, if I may add just a little bit to you, sir, the examples you are sharing, they are actually just not, this is just not law enforcement. This is blatant cases of persecution. This is a systematic dismantling of pluralism in Bangladesh. This is exactly what the Taliban did in Afghanistan, and Yunus and his allies are doing it to erase Awami League from Bangladesh.
Absolutely. That's what the definition tells us, right? That if you are a believer or follower of a particular political party, then, and if you are targeted for that reason, that amounts to persecution. That is the definition of persecution everywhere, worldwide. And there is a systematic pattern that you are getting arrested because you are a Awami League supporter, then you are produced before the court. At that time, the mob attacks. Then you are placed in the prison. Over there, you, in many of the photographs, in the videos, you will see that a heavy helmet is put on your head. That helmet is pure iron, my friends. You cannot, it is not possible to carry that helmet. Then you will see that your hands are tied at the back, right? This is by the Supreme Court judgment in Bangladesh. This is illegal. This is illegal in any sense, that you cannot mistreat any accused person. Now, after that, what happens? You will see in many occasions in Hafizur Rahman Karjan's case, what happened? He was showing the constitution and telling repeatedly that I have constitutional rights. But the hooligans of the present party, present government and NCP, Jamaat and BNP, they were pushing the journalists away. Even one journalist's camera was vandalized by the supporters who are disguised as lawyers. So what I'm saying is, then they are sent into the prison where their medical treatments are denied, where they are forced to sleep on the cold floor. In Shahriar Kobir case, I know that he was denied a blanket even first few days. You see, so even the same situation with Chinmoy Prabhu's case, that he was forced to eat in the same pot where beef is cooked or even meat is cooked. He's a vegetarian. He was supposed to get vegetarian food there, but he was denied that. So he was vomiting continuously for a couple of days. So look at any, there are emails I have read that saying that old people are in the custody, their families are giving the medicine at the jail gate, but the prison authority is not handing over the medicine to them. This is what is happening in Bangladesh.
To Rahan Jamil, what pattern stand out in custodial deaths that are happening?
Wonderful, and this is something that our legal counsel, Mr. Ball, has actually touched upon. Custody in Bangladesh has become synonymous with the death sentence. Custody has become synonymous with the death sentence. Why? Because as soon as there's a case filed against you, regardless of the merits of the case, you are sent to the court. Court automatically denies you bail, and then you are sent to prison, and then torture, denial of medicine, false claims of sudden illnesses are all have become standard in Bangladesh. The French report shows that 45% of the cases, death cases, came from torture, whereas 30% came from medical negligence. We have heard examples of Bogura prison deaths where 5 Awami League leaders died under suspicious conditions, where the family saw bruises, swollen faces, and broken skin, even though the authorities said they died of simple illnesses. These are not natural deaths. These are custodial killings disguised as medical failures. That is not the case. You guys have talked about the Gopalganj massacre. We have seen several examples, several reports of how people are arrested, later reported death, just citing medical collapse. What is a medical collapse? Nobody knows. So this is a chilling strategy. Make no mistake, this is a strategy, a chilling one. Kill the body, silence the voice, and rewrite the story as needed. So when you have strategic negligence like this, that prisoners were denied necessary medication, whether for chronic illnesses or other purposes, doctors were withheld from even going and visiting the patients. Right? They were withheld. The authorities did not allow doctors to go and even check the patients. Negligence was not a mistake. Negligence was made into a weapon in such cases. And we have global parallels. Let me name just a couple of for you. History remembers how Argentina's dictatorship did this kind of disappearances. The Taliban used prisons as death chambers. And in Bangladesh, Yunus has been copying all these models. So in conclusion, I can say that custody today means fear, it means pain, it means death. The government that kills in prison is not seeking justice. The government that kills someone in prison is not seeking justice. It seeks control through terror. Back to you.
So many may question that can this really be dismissed, or some may dismiss it as rogue action by some security forces or the member of the security forces. But can they really? What we see is that the consistency, this consistency and the breadth, it points to a central point: approval of a central government, because we see multiple security forces are involved. We see the police force involved, we see the Bangladesh military involved, we see prison guards and prison authorities are involved. We see BNP and Jamaat Islam and NCP; those are aligned with government. These people are involved. So such coordination cannot happen without political authorization. It has to be done from the highest level of politics, and responsibility when it comes to such heinous crimes, it always goes upwards, because it is the common responsibility. If we are in a position of power and your supporters do something, or the security forces under your government does something, common responsibility goes to the captain. And in this case, Muhammad Yunus is the captain. And at this point, I would ask Jihan, okay, take us through Muhammad Yunus, like what's his responsibility here, okay, what's his actions are. Can you please?
Thank you, Mr. Alam, again. So crime is one thing. There will be crime in a society, in a practical society, probably not in an ideal society. However, when the crimes are being patronized by the highest level of the state, the overall situation become pretty complex. Right after the fall of the Awami League government and after Yunus took over the state power, what he did? The Home Ministry issued a directive providing indemnity for the violent crimes of July. Anybody who participated in any crime in July, the law enforcement or anyone will not be able to file any lawsuit against them. And it is tantamount to the indemnity that we have seen after 1975, when the father of the nation of Bangladesh, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, and his family were brutally murdered. So when there is a culture of impunity, there is nothing called human rights. In this 1 year, more than 2,400, 2,500 hate crimes were lodged against the minorities. However, what Yunus did, Yunus went to international media, spending his money, and claimed that these are not any communal violence. He tried to downplay this violence.
One correction: no, this is not his money. This is public money. This is the money of Bangladeshi people.
Right.
So one small correction. Thank you.
Yeah. Using public fund, abusing public fund, he went to international media and claimed that these are not communal violence. These are political violence. The Hindus in Bangladesh are the lackeys of the Awami League government. And by this, he tried to downplay the actual gravity of the situation in Bangladesh. And we are seeing even at UN, he's trying to downplay the whole situation. He's trying to claim that India did not like what the student did, or India this and India that. By that, he's trying to divert the focus from the actual human rights situation in Bangladesh. And we have seen him mocking the facial feature of the Muslim population, as if this is a comedy or circus. When thousands are being dead, family members are tortured. And this sends a chilling message. This sends a chilling message of impunity. And when there is impunity, there is no deterrence. Criminals feel free to commit any crime. Nobody is scared because there is no consequences. If you commit a crime, you will probably be rewarded. If you kill an Awami League activist, you will get this or that. This is the situation in Bangladesh today. And we have seen today,
I believe that a few months ago, he told his supporters that Awami League activists, Awami League supporters are in your village, are
Right,
in your cities, are in your
right,
neighborhood,
right.
and you should take action against them.
And we have seen I don't know whether they will also claim that the indigenous people are also the lackeys of the Army League. We have seen tragic situation, tragic condition of them. Indigenous students were attacked in the capital of the Dhaka for peaceful during a peaceful protest. And in recent days, a young girl was raped, and the indigenous people staged protest against it. And what the security forces did, they opened fire. Gunshots were heard, and multiple were injured. So, Mr. Alam and my dear listeners and my friends, the culture of impunity that the Yunus regime has established in Bangladesh is causing a genocide. It is genocidal. They are trying to erase the whole party base from the country, and the situation is very catastrophic. And Yunus is
And
evading his responsibility. Back to you, Mr.
from a very overly optimistic point of view, my question to Barrister Taposh, that were there any action against these perpetrators, the people who are killing people in custody? Any actions?
Before answering that, I will make a small correction to the submission made by Mr. Anwar Sadat Jihan, that whether this amounts to genocide, because there is this tricky matter, because political group is not mentioned as a genocidal group. Yes, there are genocidal patterns, but a political group is not categorized as a genocidal group. It was inserted in the definition of International Crimes Tribunals Act of 1973 in its original definition. But this party, I mean, Yunus party, after taking up the power, they have actually deleted the word, because they know very well that they will be tried in Bangladesh in front of this tribunal for the genocide of Awami League leaders and activists. So,
Do,
right at this
do
moment,
they have mandate to do so? Do they have
they
mandate to change law?
they had mandate to change laws. They did everything. In the very beginning, you said the word state violence. So when it becomes state violence, when a state takes up a policy to target one particular group and to safeguard itself for committing crimes against that particular group. So they are targeting Awami League as a political group, and it is safeguarding itself by amending law after law.
That's
Whereas
exactly what
they
my
cannot do
point
it.
is. My point is that, as we know, the Parliament of Bangladesh are the lawmakers in Bangladesh, like any other democracy.
Right.
What they can do in this period of time, probably they can uh, issue some ordinance by the president. But the presidential ordinance is only for 3 months, and it will have to be passed by the next parliament.
Right.
Isn't it? Isn't that the
Absolutely. That is the
constitutional?
position. So that is their fear. And that's why they are shaking their hands with Jamaat and BNP, because whoever will be giving the indemnity to them, the Yunus party is going to support them. Look around, another thing, that it is not about state violence, is not about policy as well. They are actually sponsoring by using public fund for this kind of policy, for for materializing this policy. Look into the dehumanization process of Awami League activists. You may have read that they are miking in different regions of Bangladesh so that homeowners do not rent their properties to the Awami League supporters and activists. So this is a total dehumanization process. In one of my submission, I said that the kids of Awami League leaders and activists, they are not allowed to sit in their classrooms. This is a part of dehumanization. Has anybody been punished for that? No. That's the question. That's the next question you asked. Nobody is so far punished, because everybody is under the indemnity of a blanket unwritten law. There is no written law. That is just a declaration, because they know once it is written, they might be in trouble. So that's why this is an unwritten law that nobody will be punished for this. And that is why this culture of impunity is growing day by day. Now, the thing I want to remind Yunus and his followers that look at what happened to Duterte in Philippines. Duterte at one time was killing people in the name that they are either drug addicted people or they are drug traffickers. And in that way, he was actually killing his political dissenters. That is the same thing which is Yunus Gong is doing in Bangladesh. So if they think they can go away with this crime, I would say no, sir. You cannot go away with this
It
crime.
actually happened in Bangladesh before too, in 1975, after the killing of Father of the Nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. Uh, there were indemnity for those who killed the Father of the Nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. But when Awami League came back to power, we had justice.
Not only that, after what happened in 1971, when Ziaur Rahman took up the power, he gave blanket indemnity to everyone. He brought back Ghulam Azam and others. He actually rehabilitated this Jamaat Islami, his Hizbut Tahrir, and everything. But then what happened? That Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, she, under her leadership, this International Crimes Tribunal was set up. Justice was done to all these perpetrators who committed crimes against humanity and genocide in 1971. So we have to say that nobody is going to go away with this.
On
Yunus
that note,
and his
on that
followers.
note, Tapasda, this is quite funny when we say the blanket indemnity Ziaur Rahman issued for the
Perpetrators,
perpetrators of
and also
1971,
those who killed Father of the Nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman.
and what Yunus did today, the blanket indemnity to those who killed our police force, 3,000 of them, and 600 Awami League supporters and activists, and many other 290 mob lynching.
And
And
destruction of public property as well.
yesterday, Mirza Fakhrul Islam, the general secretary of BNP, said, okay, when he saw Yunus speaking, he saw Jia Rahman, his idol, the founder of BNP. That's very similar, isn't it?
And that's the reason. That's why he has seen. I mean, he experienced that. This is not an isolated incident that Mirza Fakhrul saw Ziaur Rahman in Yunus, because Yunus is following the same path. Look at the same situation. Yunus is in New York, but his pet soldiers are killing people in Khagrachuri right now as we speak. What is the crime of these people? That they demanded justice because of the rape that was committed on 23rd of September, that was again committed before in July of 18th of July. So as if there is no value of life or value for life of those who live in the tribal communities in Bangladesh. And Yunus, in his speech, totally suppressed that what his government is doing. He totally denied, outright denied. He just painted a very beautiful picture in front of the people in United Nations and others. He said whatever is happening in Bangladesh is either done by India or it is done by Awami League. As if we are actually totally, I mean, has been dreaming since what he has said.
Actually, you know what's happening in Bangladesh? Yunus got 600 crore Bangladeshi taka, like he's tax exempted. He has a manpower agency now, okay, an extra one, and university, very profitable. So these are given to him by India. So he should be thankful to India for this, okay, because whatever
I mean,
happening in
this is
Bangladesh is
the amount you
done by India.
mentioned. The amount you mentioned is in taka, but think about the dollar he has probably received for selling Saint Martin, for selling the Chittagong port, for for giving undue advantages to BNP corrupt people and Jamaat Islami corrupt people. Because you see, all the banks, their committees are changed, isn't it? Their managing director, chairman, and everything is changed. And who is beneficiary of that? Jamaat Islam is beneficiary of that. So he is definitely, Yunus is getting some sort of monetary benefit out of this. We just don't know yet.
And to Rahan Jamil, let's not go to the legal mumbo jumbo. Uh, from an ethical point of view, can Muhammad Yunus claim no responsibility? He is claiming it, but can he in
It's
this killing?
I think that's a wonderful question for all of us to implore and explore. This is just not possible, in my opinion. If you look at those 70 cases of death that the French report has shared, 88% remains without any kind of legal support. Families are afraid to complain. Police are refusing to record complaints or cases. Courts are dismissing petitions, right? So this is not a failure, it's a design. And Yunus cannot escape accountability. Police, army, joint forces, all are reporting to this interim government of Mr. Yunus. This abuse is nationwide and systematic. It's very important for us to realize that this is systematically done. And Yunus cannot claim these were rogue incidents. Like Mr. Ball was saying earlier, either India did it or Awami League did it, or even worse, it has not happened at all. He would come and say, what rape? There was no rape has taken
In
place. You
one
remember the rape?
incident in Gazipur, after vandalizing of Durga statue,
Hmm.
then the OC of that or the SP of that area said, "Oh, some mischievous boys have done it."
Right.
So yes, so thanks God that Yunus didn't say that in the United Nations. But I think
Again,
that is coming up. That
it
is his
will
next
come.
excuse.
Yeah, it will come. Imagine a police officer saying that vandalism, mass vandalisms, are actions of teenagers. Unbelievable. Custodial deaths in Bangladesh all over. People are dying from lack of medications. We talked about this earlier. Their death certificates say heart failure. Families repeatedly testify that no, we have seen bruises and signs of trauma. They were not listened to. So silence, my listeners, silence equals complicity. Please keep this in mind. Silence equals complicity. If Mr. Yunus has not directly even issued these orders, his silence makes him complicit in all these crimes. Leadership equates responsibility. What you command and what you allow is part of your leadership. And Dr. Yunus has failed in both miserably. Even in the UNGA speech, the General Assembly speech, he talked about promoting democracy in the 3-0 world, but he has gotten zero for justice, zero for accountability, and zero for democracy. This is
I
the
mean, I mean, what he has delivered to Bangladesh so far, other than corruption of his own, just promises. But history will not remember his promises. History will remember the bloodshed happened under his watch. And while we spoke about democracy, my question to Barrister Ball, what do you see about democracy in Bangladesh? What's our future?
If it is very uh, difficult to say it in one sentence, I believe that the kind of support Awami League is getting at this moment from the rural level of Bangladesh is unprecedented. People are people probably they are silent, but silently they are supporting Awami League at every cause. People are getting out at the streets. Now the question about our democracy, I if the next election happens under Yunus regime, there is no future for our democracy, because he has politicized every single state functionaries. Look at what Alam, one of his advisors, told today. He said that the whole state machinery is under Jamaat and BNP, even though he told it out of grudge because he or his political party NCP did not get the share of the cake. That's why he said it. But he told the truth that everything. And look at one of the news said that other Asif Mahmoud Shajib, another advisor, he is investing everything in his own district so that he can win the next election. Everything he is appointing administrators for the city corporations after taking up money. His property has, I mean, quadrupled. So, and out of
I
zero,
mean, it's very easy to quadruple his property because his family didn't have much before.
but
Now they
what
have like
effect? But what
millions of.
but what does it mean for Bangladesh? It means that the young generation of Bangladesh is learning corrupt practice. They, like Shajib Bhuiya or any other young leader, they will think that Bangladeshi politics is a money making machine. So they will not want to practice democratical norms. They will always the time want to do this kind of color revolution and do it. Just
I mean,
before, I know we
in,
are short of time, but I will just say one thing, that today in Prothomalo, one of the leftist leader, Mr. Firoz Ahmed, he gave this interview where he says that it is their wish that the Awami League is totally deleted from the root level. That is the design of not only Jamaat and BNP, that is the design of left leaning political parties as well. So we, the supporters of
I
Awami League,
mean, when you say left-leaning political parties, we know they do not have like any supporter base in
they do
Bangladesh.
not
They
have
are
any
very
support, but they are a part of this meticulous design. They are
doubtful.
giving the ideological support to the Yunus regime. That is,
They're also acting as NGOs. They're actually basically
they are acting
act
as
as
a
NGOs.
perpetrator of the whole situation, of the whole system. So what I'm saying is that the leaders and activists of Bangladesh Awami League in the root level, uh, they are facing the most of the challenges, not from one side but from multiple sides. So I would urge today, when today is the birthday of our leader Sheikh Hasina, today incidentally is the Mahashoshti of Durga Puja. So everything together, I'm urging everyone that we need to support the activists and leaders of Awami League, nationally, internationally, and locally. Whatever we can, that will save themselves, save their family, and save their future generations.
I mean, it has a very bad international implication. Right now, as we know, that over 20 countries have blocked uh, Bangladeshis from traveling to their countries. We also know, like in a significant number of countries, I think that's it is 20 countries actually told their citizens not to travel to Bangladesh. And okay, I'm going to correct my previous what I said previously. That 20 countries blocking Bangladeshi citizens to travel to their countries. That's not the right information. A few countries, including UAE, but we know for sure that 20 countries issued travel warning to their citizens not to travel to Bangladesh. And Bangladeshi tourism sector right now, like all other sectors in Bangladesh, is like facing a devastating situation. 70% of the sale is down, and there is we do not have any foreign foreign investment or even local investment. Okay, everything is stalled. We know that okay, 1.8 million women lost their job. Our women footballers, the best sporting team, one of the best, actually, I would say second best sporting team in the country after our cricket team. Our women football team cannot practice. And in this situation, Dr. Rahan Jamil, what the international community can do, how can they help?
Thank you, Mr. Alom. I know we're running out of time, so I'll try to be very to the point. We have to remember, in terms of what's at stake internationally, is political opposition is criminal. When political opposition is criminalized, democracy collapses from within. When citizens withdraw, fear replaces trust. Institutions that are built to serve have become instruments of oppression. And when democracy collapses, extremism grows. We have organizations like ARSA eager to fill that kind of void. Bangladesh has become a destabilizer, is becoming a destabilizer in South Asia. Yunus's Bangladesh risks becoming fragile, repressive, and Taliban-like. Our famous poet Jivanananda Das often wrote about dark times and dark shadows across Bengal. So I think that that shadow in today's term is very political. It's cast by a state repression. Supporting Yunus means supporting authoritarianism. Back to you.
Last words, Taposh?
What I understand that international community had a trust on Dr. Yunus. I understand, and Dr. Yunus has totally failed to deliver to restore peace and prosperity for Bangladesh, and the expectation the Western leadership had on Yunus is lost, and that is reflected in the present United Nations General Assembly when he was meeting with former leaders. No current leader he was able to meet except in the those general discussing moments. So, and also you said that a lot of countries are denying us visa. That is also a blow on his face. So I would say that internationally Bangladesh has lost a lot of trust that they had during the regime of Sheikh Hasina. Sheikh Hasina was a world leader, whereas Yunus, who was entrusted by the world leaders, has totally betrayed their trust and their expectation.
On
Mr.
that
Paul,
note,
I don't think the international community had their trust on Yunus. We know from the confessions of the perpetrators of the August terrorist movement that these perpetrators were actually, they approached Yunus to bring him to power.
well, on that note, I would like to say this to Muhammad Yunus and his supporters and his goons, that international prestige does not excuse human rights crimes. The command responsibility is Muhammad Yunus's. Today is Sheikh Hasina, the Prime Minister of Bangladesh, and daughter of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, and daughter of Bangladesh, Sheikh Hasina's 79th birthday. Happy birthday, Appa. Today, also, when four Student League, Bangladesh Student League activists were celebrating Sheikh Hasina's birthday, were arrested. Just for celebrating a birthday, four young people were arrested in Bangladesh. This cannot go on. The true Bangladesh will prevail. We have seen greater persecution than this. Pakistanis came to us with tanks and fighter jets. They couldn't beat us. Our spirit, the spirit of 1971, the spirit of Bengali nationalism, Bangladeshi nationalism, far stronger than the criminals. And we will prevail. Thank you so much to our audience, and we'll see you next week for another episode.